The Tea Party members drive through a poor neighborhood of blacks and whites, never flinching an eye, because these people are of a different class of Americans and they are not their conservative constituents. These people riding in the vehicle wish they had the guts to throw tea in Boston Harbor, the guts to stand up to a faraway country that were stripping their countrymen of their value without any representation whatsoever. Unfortunately, these people of each state are 1/50th responsible for the expenditure in D.C. They can't blame a faraway country for their own neglect. They think giving money to poor communities to fight hunger and crime is wasted until the moment that one of these criminals rob or kill one of them. They like large armies and police forces, but when it comes to paying them, they expect timesheets to show where the money went. A mother needing food for her children walks the street because a social service has been stripped away. But then she appears in court with a lawyer that views her as only another miscreant, a plague to society. And then when she's convicted of soliciting, where do you put her unless you build another prison? Was there a reason why this woman couldn't have had more assistance given her during the month to feed her children? And a prison would not have had to be built. These people, these Tea Party zealots, wish they were richer, but they don't know how they can do it if they have to pay taxes in a country such as America that wants to treat all its citizens right. So there must be something wrong with the way America thinks, because to a rich person looking in, it is not America's place to be responsible for every citizen's actions. But remember that when your aunt, uncle, sister, brother, mom, or dad is suddenly killed for a chain of gold around their neck because the value of that one piece of metal will pay for food, for illegal drugs, for family business, or even worse business. Remember that also when you are desperate to have a witness to the crime and any observers that can make your case have weighed the issue and feel it more important that they remain quiet rather than give you justice. Cops are on the front lines and they have to react to every hardship you, as a politician, place on a community. If a community's upset, then the first one that is going to know it is the police officer on duty. The offender doesn't know the legislature that took food from their brother and sister's mouths. They only know that their mother and father are upset and taking it out on the kids. No ice cream tonight. We will cut up cheap hot dogs and put them in macaroni and cheese. The baby is the only one that drinks the milk because our subsidy for formula has been reduced. What's funny is that one of these Tea Party types is the owner of the company that makes the formula and gets a subsidy for every can sold. But that doesn't matter to him because as demand for his product lessens, he can start producing less while charging more. America is supply and demand country, and for that reason he cannot get enough of the financial benefit. Pretty soon, though, he could charge a week's wage for one can of formula, and no one can gripe. If he loses money, he can take it off his tax liability. What a win-win situation. But still it is an irritating feeling that what their ancestors got away with some 400 years ago, they can't get away with today. After all, it was much easier when an enterprising group of men simply purchased a galleon and went to another country for slaves. Supply and demand is the action words for that period of time. Dutch, Portuguese, and other slave trading countries prospered with the sale of human beings to the New World. Pick and choose the number of and kind of slaves for your plantation, for your workforce, and if any give you trouble, we will bring you another. The workforce is plentiful on the dark continent, and these workers don't have a union to call upon for aid like they do today. You simply dispose of your defective possession, and an approved model will appear. If we only had these galleons today, we could easily bring shiploads of workers from China, Indonesia, or India and beyond. It wouldn't cost us a thing because the landowners will cover the bill, and no longer would our profits be kept down by payments of Social Security, disabilities, fair wages, unemployment, or government cost. We wouldn't have to build any hospitals or schools. Health care would be out of the question. We would have to spend more on prisons, but that's a given because there are too many people that believe they have rights that we haven't given them. And taken from us is a grievous crime, no matter how petty the offense. The only thing we can't do that our ancestors could some 400 years ago was establish cemeteries of unmarked graves for the blacks as well as the downtrodden. And we are no longer free to voice what is really in our hearts, and that is, I don't have to rationalize the black person's presence because I own them. But in this context, the rich person is talking about all of America's labor force, employed or not. Ironically, though, the Tea Party members with slave histories in their past are now joined by members of color, especially black. And while the slavery no longer exists to the same extent on American soil, it has been transplanted to many different continents where cheap labor still exists. And the inner thoughts of the supposedly pious and wealthy hide the truth. We can make a profit while we tell you, our countrymen, we care. The Ku Klux Klan and the Black Panther members of Congress drive through an area of diverse ethnic backgrounds, but they look and sneer at the rabble that think they have the right to be Americans. If you're not white, you're shit. If you are not black, you're shit. The parallels between the two hate mongers is amazing. They appear simply as photocopies of each other, and they trust their other brothers of white or black in power to do what is right for them and their families. Unfortunately, though, neither is aware of the closed meetings of the rich that want them at odds, because they can then be manipulated to do only what the rich dictate. Their relatives and offspring do not have jobs, because to the rich that would create an era of responsibility, an era where every American can not only succeed but has a happy home and a prosperous life. Unfortunately, these low-life hate mongers have been taught that color matters, and while they might not offer up their allegiances to the dark society for public scrutiny, they are the reasons why equality is hard to achieve, because each side thinks that the other is less than a human being. Until true equality is proposed, neither side is going to back down, and hate will thrive.